The purpose of this video is to put forward some considerations for filming with the Canon 5D Mark III. Knowing the details of your equipment will ease production and make the final product that much more predictable. So basically, it's good to know your equipment. The primary function of the 5D is still image capturing. It's pretty much meant for photography, so it lacks some of the inherent qualities that are required for film, which we'll talk about throughout this video. So first we'll talk about physically setting up a shot with the 5D, and then we'll get into programming the camera for your shot. Because you're capturing motion versus a still image, camera stability is a major concern because there's actually no built-in stabilization to the body of the camera. So having a tripod, preferably a tripod with a fluid head, will promote less judder or shaking of the camera, which will avoid rolling shutter or the jello effect. As for focusing your image, if you're shooting video, manual focus is the way to go, and it's very straightforward with the 5D. On the camera, there's a symbol that marks the focal plane of the sensor. So what you need to do is take a tape measure and measure from the symbol towards your subject that's to be in focus, and then dial it into the lens, whether it be in feet or meters. Now, if you're planning to pull focus during a shot, I recommend you use a focusing mechanism, which will further reduce camera shake. Also, there are low budget alternatives to fancy focusing mechanisms. You could use an elastic band around the lens and pull focus that way. The biggest thing if you're going to try to pull focus within a shot is try not to touch the lens directly, because that will promote camera shake. And if you're planning to go handheld, I recommend you mount the camera on a rig, which will further promote stability. So now what we're going to do is jump into the actual programming of the 5D for your shot. The first consideration when it comes to programming is video quality. You want to figure out what resolution you want to use and what frame rate you want to use. Now, the Canon 5D Mark III offers 3 resolutions you can pick from. It offers 1920 by 1080, which is a full HD setting, 16:9 aspect ratio. And with this one, you can record 30 frames per second or 24 frames per second. FYI, 24 frames per second is the standard for motion pictures. It also offers 1280 by 720, which is another HD setting with an aspect ratio of 16:9. It's just a smaller resolution as the previous. However, the benefit of the 720 is that it can film at 60 frames per second, which is a huge plus when it comes to slow motion capturing. And then finally, it offers standard definition, which is the smallest resolution, which is pretty much considered worthless. Another consideration when it comes to programming your camera is the compression method. The camera offers 2 different compression methods for your video, IPB and All-I. IPB applies compression to multiple frames to produce an overall smaller size, which provides more space for recording. So this is best if you're not planning to do any editing to your video whatsoever. You're just going to upload it the way it comes out of the camera. The alternative compression method is All-I, which applies compression to each frame individually, which will produce a larger file in the end. However, it is more suited for editing because it offers a superior file quality. If you're planning to do editing, this is the compression method you should go with. Another consideration for when filming with the 5D is memory cards. You should be using compact flash or CF cards, and make sure that they are UDMA. These cards are specifically designed for high-speed data transferring, which will reduce the risk of data loss while you're filming. Looks like it wants to film the ceiling. No, we don't want to do that. Come back. There we go. Stay like that. Another consideration is setting up your exposure. Now, when you're taking a picture, you control exposure through shutter speed, ISO, and aperture. This is going to be a little bit different when it comes to shooting film. You're a little bit more restricted with your shutter speed. The shutter speed depends on the frame rate that you've selected. So it's essentially twice the frame rate. So for example, if you're doing 24 frames per second, your shutter speed should be 1/50th of a second. If you're doing 30 frames per second, your shutter speed should be 1/60th of a second. So essentially, you're going to set your shutter speed based on your frame rate and then control the exposure through aperture and ISO only. Now, another topic worth discussing is setting up your white balance. Now, the camera has various presets that are great based on the environment that you're in. The one preset that you need to avoid is AWB. The reason that you want to avoid the automatic white balance preset is because as you move your camera, the white balance would automatically be adjusted. So the white balance will be different throughout your footage, making it very challenging to deal with in post-production. And the final topic I want to bring up is picture style. Now when it comes to picture style, I personally use the CineStyle profile, which is very similar to the neutral profile. However, it offers more of a dynamic range. And luckily it is a free download from the Technicolor's website. Now the CineStyle and the neutral profile are both flat profiles, and what I mean by that is that the final image will be slightly undersaturated and slightly under contrasted. The benefit of having your final footage flat is it gives you more range for color correction, so you have more control over the final look of your film. So there are a lot of specifics with regards to the 5D that you need to know before you jump into filmmaking. But mastering the specifics of the 5D has huge potential because the final look of your film content could be very cinematic if done properly. Don't forget to like and subscribe.